Now, the Russian Federation and especially Vladimir Putin are standing up to NATO on one hand and to the United States on the other. You could say they're standing up to the collective West. In general terms, it's that the Russian response to that kind of provocation has arrived, because we're about to see that not everything could really be that simple. There is information indicating that rather than a real desire to send their troops into the conflict, it could be a Western bluff, a Ukrainian bluff. Without a doubt, Vladimir Putin has been extremely clear. We are going to see his words right away and next. Next, I will also show you his direct statements with subtitles. Basically, to sum up in a very brief summary, he said it, although in a somewhat softer way, that those who dare to send their soldiers to the territory of the Russian Federation, or even to the border of the Russian Federation with Ukraine, they are taking a risk, and too big a risk, of ending up receiving the bodies of those soldiers, which basically means in pine boxes, the coalition of losers. Surprisingly, she was more than willing to send Western troops into the territory of the Russian Federation. Basically, because Russia's border is actually one of the reasons why the conflict started. And this, of course, has been asked of Vladimir Putin. Russia never plays any kind of double game. And I would say that to all the questions, or to the vast majority of questions that have been asked of Vladimir Putin. And also extremely important questions have received monotonous answers, very clear and direct. In this sense, I call on Vladimir Vyacheslavoich Putin. As for the possible military contingents in Ukraine, this is one of the main reasons for dragging Ukraine toward the UTA. Therefore, if troops appear there, especially now during the hostilities, we consider them to be legitimate targets for elimination. And if agreements are reached that lead to peace, to a hard peace, then I simply don't see any point in their presence on the territory of Ukraine. That seems absolutely key to me. That is, we want to send our troops. NATO says that basically this has been the reason why the United States and NATO initially subsidized this conflict, because they wanted to destabilize Russia through that border with Ukraine. If what they really want is to have a military contingent on the border of the Russian Federation, Russia cannot allow it. And what if we reach an agreement, since those soldiers are supposed to guarantee peace? But what if we've already agreed, just as Russia wants, that an agreement is reached, I mean in really firm terms, in stable terms, a definitive agreement? So, what is that Western military contingent needed for? What exactly are they going to guarantee? And Vladimir Putin continues, security guarantees must exist for both Russia and Ukraine, and the Russian Federation will respect them. I'll add my part. Just as it has respected all the agreements it has signed, Russia will fully comply with the peace agreements on Ukraine once they are reached. Until recently, the leadership of the Kiev regime, to put it mildly, spoke about us in unflattering terms and dismissed any possibility of direct contact. Now we see that they are asking for these contacts, or at least proposing them, and I have said many times that I am willing to have these contacts. But at that press conference in Beijing, I said that I don't see much point in it.
Why?
Because it will be practically impossible to reach an agreement with the Ukrainian side on key issues, even if there were political will, which I doubt. There are legal and technical difficulties. It's an endless process. Nevertheless, we have said that we are prepared for meetings at the highest level. Listen, the Ukrainian side wants this meeting to take place and is proposing it. I said, I'm ready, please come. We absolutely guarantee you the working conditions and, of course, safety. The guarantee is 100%, but if they tell us we want a meeting with you, then go to that place, to that meeting. Well, I think those are excessive demands on us, because next time, if someone really wants to meet with us, we are ready. The best place for that is the capital of the Russian Federation, the heroic city of Moscow. Another important point is the fact that this whole meeting of the coalition of the unwilling, or the coalition of losers, whichever you prefer, and this threat of deploying troops on the territory of the Russian Federation, could it be a bluff or could it be madness? Here, everyone can interpret it as they wish. Since there are Western media outlets that are writing about the fact that really Western leaders, all they want is in some way to leave Russia holding the ball, at least in media terms, to put pressure, to make Russia nervous, to get it to make some statements louder than others. That is, they really don't intend to. It's not that they haven't thought about it. They just don't have what it takes to actually deploy their troops on Ukrainian territory. That's one theory. But then there's the second one, which is much, 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 much more worrying. Honestly, I get lost here because I don't know who to believe. I don't know if they're really such good actors or if they're actually just that incredibly crazy. And I'm going to show you these statements from Mr. Yuti, who is none other than the Secretary General of NATO, who recently, of course, completely ignored the whole issue that the Ukrainian conflict itself began precisely because of the fact that for a moment, NATO wanted to set up on the border with the Russian Federation, very specifically to take complete control of the Ukrainian state. Well, the man now, who seems nice as if he came straight down from Mars, he wonders what exactly is the problem with having a NATO military contingent. Thank you. In Ukraine, thank you.
State, if Ukraine wants the presence of forces as part of security guarantees to maintain peace, that's their business. Why should we care about Russia's opinion on foreign troops in Ukraine?
Of course, the gentleman said it in English. It's just that I got it from a Russian source and they dubbed it. It's like he's out of it, huh? Here? The main point is, how can he be so completely crazy or such an incredibly good actor? To be able to say all this string of very dangerous nonsense with a straight face, each one more dangerous than the last? To say, what exactly is the problem with Ukraine wanting to have a NATO military contingent within its borders? How does Russia respond to this? I'm not even going to explain it with arguments, because I think with these people, there comes a point where it's like a cult. I mean, you give them arguments and they always respond, long live Ukraine, let's go until the last Ukrainian soldier. Putin is a dangerous dictator. But I answer with another question. So what exactly is the problem with Russia having its military contingent? In Mexico, in Canada, or in Cuba? In Cuba? In fact, something like that almost happened, and it didn't happen precisely because the United States got furious and didn't allow it. The Cuban Missile Crisis, I remind this gentleman of it, and I don't understand. Being Mexico, Canada, or Cuba, absolutely sovereign states, let's say infinitely more sovereign than Ukraine, where is this going to end up? Why wouldn't the United States, a third country, allow Russia to station its troops there? And that's exactly what Vladimir Putin is responding to when he talks about the fact that Ukraine's security, which of course he says must be guaranteed. He even stated he's not personally against Ukraine joining, saying Russia isn't opposed, but he isn't either. Of course, he says that Ukraine can become part of the European Union, but he says that Ukraine's security cannot be guaranteed at the expense of the security of the Russian Federation. I mean, that's the end of it.